Hey guys, this is Matt, and in today's video we will be going over another matchup. Today's matchup I'm doing Dark Magician against Mekk-Knight. For those of you who've played this matchup before, it's kind of annoying, mostly because Mekk-Knight does have is a mixed combo back row deck, and they love it when their opponent's sets has back row as well, so that they can more easily go into the Mekk-Knights, who, if you may know, require all their Mekk-Knights require like two cards in the same column to special summon. So let's get started and see how this goes. Yeah, I guess the title, you can already kind of see the spoiler here. Yeah, it's best of three, and I 2-0'd this player. So let's see how this goes. So right off the bat, I won the dice roll, and I get to go first. I don't know what kind of deck I'm facing, but right now I have Red Eyes Fusion to get Dragoon, and I have a Solemn Strike to set in the back row. So right off the bat, that will allow me to end this turn, my opening board, with two negates/interruptions. Right. Um, I would say like two is probably the number of interruptions that you would like to end with, like minimum. If you can end with three interruptions, you can typically play through anything your opponent throws at you. With two, like sometimes they can still play through your board if they have a god hand, but one, if you like, if I only had Dragoon and nothing else in pass, like I would be in big trouble. So yeah, the fact that I have the Solemn Strike here is super useful, and the fact that I have a second Rise Fusion is not a brick, because remember, once my first Dragoon is on the field, this is what I'm going to be discarding to negate, right? And then I can hold Hornet Drones or whatever. So alright, so let's play on. So predictable here, activate Rise Fusion, get Dragoon on the field, and I set Solemn Strike. So here I have two interruptions, right? So I don't know what they're playing. Funny enough, now that I see their hand, I didn't see their hand before. Like, they actually have an evenly matched, which is hilarious because evenly matched, like, if he plays it into his board, like he'll get rid of like my Solemn Strike and that's it. Whereas I think he opts to not play it and instead just use it as like a card to set so he can summon his Mekk-Knights. I mean, yeah, evenly matched would be 1-for-1 here. Like, it's not good to play evenly matched against a board with two cards, right? Also note that I did set my Solemn Strike in a column that's not in the same column as Dragoon. I did not know I was against Mekk-Knights, but in general, if you can, do not put your back row in the same column as your front row, because you never know when you're going to play against a Mekk-Knight player. So you should always just assume, like, if you don't know what your opponent's deck is, assume they could be in Mekk-Knight, and so never set, like, do not set like here in the same column, because then they'll be able to pop off harder. In terms of Mekk-Knights, all right, so I'll continue for now. All right, so draws. Summon. So this is the primary Mekk-Knight normal summon. This is typically what they like to open with, because it allows them to put this in the graveyard and then ditch and then summon some tokens. So yep. So here comes a token, and of course he puts the token here in the column where my trap is. And unavoidable, but like at least he had to do that work, right? Rather than just getting it for free. All right. All right. So here's what we have. I'll also go back. So this is where knowledge of the game really helps, right? Like, I know that there are exactly three outs that Mekk-Knight decks have against Dragoon. The first one is this one here. Lib the World Key Blade Master is one of the outs for Dragoon, right? They have three of them. Lib the World Key Master is one of them. The second one is Dingirsu, that rank 8 Xyz, and the third one is the Mekk-Knight Crusadia, right? Let me see. Let me see their outfit deck here. So, yeah, Dingirsu they have, and obviously Dingirsu can play into Zeus. So I guess Zeus is like a generic. So, I mean, any deck with that season can make Zeus, and Zeus is technically an out for Dragoon. But like, Dingirsu is like is a core. Like it's a core part of the Mekk-Knight deck, and of course Mekk-Knight Crusadia Avra Max is the third out. So he also has Boral Sword Dragon, which can be an out for Dragoon, but that's a generic out, right? Like whereas the main outs that I'm personally like worried about are the three that I mentioned: Dingirsu, Crusadia, Avermax, and Lib the World Keymaster. So you don't know, Lib World Keymaster. So when this card is linked away and goes to the graveyard, she can shuffle a card, non-targeted shuffle a card back into my deck. So if I allow them to link this monster away, they will be able to like bounce Dragoon, right? So here I use Solemn Strike, and the reason that I use Solemn Strike is because I don't want them to be able to obviously link this away into a link 3 or whatever and be able to bounce Dragoon. But also, if I Solemn Strike the summon, that means that this monster was not properly special summoned, so there will be no possible way, like there are any cards in his deck, like Monster Reborn or whatever, that will allow him to revive this from the graveyard and then try the effect again. So yeah, so that's why I Solemn Strike here. So note that, even though the Orcus like Knight came out, I did not shotgun any of my negates because I knew from just having knowledge about the game and how Mekk-Knight decks play that this was one of the cards that I needed to wait for, right? So I'll save your negates for the things that will out your Dragoon. Don't just shotgun your negates or your back row your traps on the very first thing they play because typically it's a bait or they can play through it, right? Like save it for the stuff that actually will affect you. All right, so Solemn Strike this. All right, cool. So then they go into their Mekk-Knight plays. Yep, search a thing, banish yourself, set, summon, search another thing. Yep, set, summon, search another thing. All right, so at this point, I decide to negate, right? So he uses the Morning Star to discard a card, which will allow him to search another card, right? So why do I decide to negate here? And in this case, I send Dark Magician Girl because just in case I top deck Rod or Soul Servant or whatever, like then I'll have my draw too. Okay, so why did I top deck here? Well, or negate here. Well, because I see that his hand has one card in it, and he just set two cards, right? Um, so basically, like I know that if I negate this and destroy this, he'll have one card in hand, two cards set, and from that just game knowledge, I know that I don't, or at least I'm 99% sure that with one card in hand and two set cards, he cannot get to the other two things that will out Dragoon. The other two things being Dingirsu or Crusadia Avermax. Um, so yeah, negating here I think is the right call. I just don't want him to make any more plays, and also just in case he had another one of these like Lib, the World Key Blade Masters in his extra deck, like he can't make it with like just one monster in hand, right? Yeah, I thought this was a pretty safe negate point. Like sometimes you just have to make these judgments. Like okay, like if you think the negate will affect them such like your opponent in a way that like they have no other plays or like they cannot make a play that will get them to an out for your Dragoon, then yeah, go ahead and use negate. And especially since like this monster is a link 2, like he had to spend 2 bodies to get to it and then he discarded a card to activate its effect, like this is super neg for him, like if I negate here. So yep, so that's my negate. And as I suspected, the last card in his hand was an additional monster, which he would have used to go into a Link 3. And if he was allowed to search, then he might have been able to go to Link 4. I can't give him that search because it just gives him too many like more options of plays. Whereas I thought like this is a decent bottleneck, right? All right, so in this case, he just attacks and destroys a token, so he can recycle a card back into his hand. And of course, he grabbed back Orcus because that's like his main like one card play starter. Right. So I draw Solemn Judgment, which is a great top deck because it basically lets me in my board the same way that I ended it in the previous turn with 2 interruptions going into the opponent's turn. And it's even better this time because like they have fewer cards to play with, right? So I have to have the same number of negates and interruptions, but they have fewer cards. All right. So pop the thing, attack for 4,000. Main phase 2. All right. All right. So search another thing. All right. So in this case, I do have to negate here. So Yeah, here we go. So World Legacy Secret is a continuous spell that allows him to special summon a Mekk-Knight, so it gets a body on the field, and it negates all monster effects in the same column as a Mekk-Knight monster. So if I allow this to resolve, then he'll put a Mekk-Knight monster right here, and Dragoon's effect will be negated. So I lose the ability to negate with Dragoon, right? I don't want that to happen, and I also don't want him to have another body on the field. Um, and obviously, so I figured like I basically have no choice but to negate here with Dragoon, right? So by negating, I'm able to take out one back row of his, which means he now has like without the right amount of back rows, he has like one space he can work with. Like he basically he has to set back row in order to summon, and right now like he only has monsters, right? So like whereas this back row like gave him options to summon before. Yeah, so I mean, yeah, I'm forced to negate, but it's also a good point to negate simply because of that. So, all right, so he normal summons this, which will allow him to give me tokens, and obviously he puts a token so that he has two things in the column. Yep, and then he can keep making Mekk-Knight plays. So at this point, he has three bodies on the field. Yeah, I'm being wary of when he brings out if he brings out a Crusadia Avermax because that's what Solemn Judgment is for, so to prevent that from happening. Alright, so he decides to go into Galatea, and Galatea goes into Nigirsu. So Nigirsu is an out to Dragoon because it says send one card your opponent controls to the graveyard. So at this point, I do Solemn Judgment because, again, remember, I knew what cards were his outs for my Dragoon, so I was waiting for them, right? I was ready for them, right? This is why you have to, game knowledge is important. This is why you have to have patience when playing a control deck like Dark Magician. You just like just seeing what deck they have gives you an idea of like what to look out for. So this outs Dingirsu, and um, by extension in this deck, that's his only XCs. Like it also means he can't go into Zeus. So at this point, the only outs that he has left for Dragoon are Boral Swords Dragon and Mekk-Knight Crusadia Avermax, and they're both Link 4s, right? And given like the summoning, like the fact that he'll only have one body on the field after this, and the fact that like his Mekk-Knights basically require like two cards, two things in a column, like I don't really see a path for him to get to a Link 4 anymore, right? In fact, yeah, he immediately surrenders because he knows like he doesn't have back row to set. He cannot summon anymore. He's done, right? Um, so yeah, this is like where game knowledge really comes in handy. Like if you were a novice player who didn't know how Mekk-Knight decks work, maybe you like set back row in the wrong column. Maybe you like prematurely negate like some the Orcus Knight or whatever, like Mekk-Knight, and then like and then he goes into one of his like outs for a Dragoon and then just like kills you, right? So game knowledge very important, and also important to have patience. Okay, game two. So the interesting thing about Mekk-Knight is that Mekk-Knights are a deck that prefer to go second. Now they don't have to go second. Like they definitely can make plays going first, especially since they do have like Orcus Girsu, the Orcus Mekk-Knight, which is a going first card. They have like their back row cards are typically good going first. Um, so yeah, like so in this case, when I was side decking, I wasn't sure if I was going to be made to go first or second. I assumed, okay, I'm probably going to be made to go first, right? Because I'm against Mekk-Knight, so that's like another tidbit of game knowledge. Like most decks, you expect, oh, you beat them, you expect to make that they'll make you go second in the next game. But in this case, like knowledge of the deck means, okay, I'm like 80% sure I'm going first, so I side deck for going first. Hence why you see a summon limit here, right? Like if I knew I was going second, like I would have subbed out summon limit for Nibiru like I did in previous games. Other changes I made to this deck, or like when side decking, is I put in Rivalry of Warlords, uh, and I took out Triple Tactics Talent and yeah, so two Triple Tactics Talent and my Secret Village of Spellcasters. I took them out because I figured, okay, like I didn't see any hand traps in game one. Most of their like monsters don't use effects on my turn. Like they rely mostly on back row on my turn to have their negates or whatever. So Trouble Tactics not super useful against Mekk-Knight. So I took that out. to put in the rivalry, and then Secret Village because they don't have that many spells, and like yeah, they have a few like the World Legacy spells that I guess are useful, but um, I don't know. I just felt like with Secret Village, such as this was a chance I was going second, like it's kind of risky. And let's see. I think I also put in two Cosmic Cyclones. So I have Harpies and two double Cosmic Cyclones in my side deck for going second against back row heavy decks. I kept the Harpies in the side deck and I put Cosmic Cyclones in because Cosmic Cyclones are great for going like first or second. And since it's a Mekk-Knight deck, like let's say I go first, I set a Cosmic Cyclone, like let's say in this column here, and then they set like a spell trap in this column here to try to summon a Mekk-Knight. Like on set, I literally could flip Cosmic Cyclone and then just banish that, and now they can no longer summon, right? So yeah, it's like great bait against Mekk-Knight. And I forgot what I took out to put in Cosmic Cyclones. I want to say I took out two. I want to say I took out my Solemn Judgments, maybe. Actually, I can check my deck right now to see. No, I still have my Judgments. What did I take out? Yeah, I definitely. Yeah, Cyclone came out. Huh. Forgot what I took out. But yeah, no Secret Village, no Triple Tactics. Oh, I took out Called by the Grave. Yeah, yeah. Called by the Grave came out, and I put in one Cyclone. And the other card. Wait, am I at 3 Judgment? I'm at 3 Judgment, yeah. Huh. I forget. I guess it's not that important what I took out. But yeah. Oh, I remember. Wait. No, never mind. Okay. All right, whatever. Okay, so yeah, so Cosmic Cyclone is pretty good. So when the duel starts, he tells me that he wants to go. He actually makes me go first, which is great because look at my hand, right? I have everything I need to just win the game right here, like regardless of what his opening hand is. So use engage, grab Hornet Drones. Hornet Drone summons token. Token becomes Kagari. Kagari grabs. So here. If I did not have Eagle Booster already in my hand, I would grab Engage, and Engage will search Eagle Booster. But since I already have Eagle Booster, I just grab Hornet Drones. Yeah, and then instead of going Hornet Drones again, I go Rod because I'd rather have the search. I'd rather like grab a Dark Magician card, right, and have Rod in the grave. So there's Rod. Rod summons Anaconda. Anaconda grabs Dragoon. Salvation. Soul. Alright, very important to note that every single column of mine on the board has exactly one card, right? Very important going against Mekk-Knight. Don't put cards in the same column. Just don't. Like, it makes their life a lot harder if you do not. It makes their life a lot easier if you do. So just don't do it, right? I know people like are compulsed to put stuff in the middle, but just don't. But just going into their turn, let's talk about what we have right now, right? So we have one interruption from Dragoon. We have a second interruption through Solemn Strike. So if you recall game one, Dragoon plus Solemn Strike was enough to win the game. Like, 2 interruptions is all I needed. But now I have 3 interruptions. Granted, Eternal Soul doesn't really stop them from making a play. Lets me recycle Rod, but Summon Limit just kills their deck, right? Because remember, they have 3 outs for Dragoon as part of the core of their deck. And all 3 of them are link monsters, which means that that are linked 2 or higher, which means they need to summon more than twice in order to get to those monsters. So just the fact that I have summon limit, it should already be game. Like there's nothing so watch what happens. And this is why summon limit is such a good card. It's like imagine if this was like infinite imperm, like it would not be as high of an impact. Yeah, I understand that imperm is better for going second, but just like I don't know. This is why I prefer like the trap heavier decks than like hand trap heavy decks because like traps are higher impact than hand traps for the most part. There are some hand traps that are higher impact like Nibiru or Dimension Shifter, but like I cannot run Dimension Shifter in a Dark Magician deck, and Nibiru is I run going second, right? Because I don't want to tribute my Dragoon if I don't have to. All right. So once again, normal summons in Mekk-Knight. He attempts to use make a token. And then I'll say, okay, I'll allow you to get your token, but I'm going to summon limit you, right? Why do I use the summon limit now? Because just in case he has a quick play in his hand that allows him to summon, if he tries to chain here, Yeah, he'll get another body on the field, but then his Mekk-Knight will not produce tokens, right? So normally you would wait to summon limit after they've summoned their second, but in this case, because I know like they have the possibility to chain a quick play, and yeah, like again, this is deck knowledge. Like I know in World Legacy Mekk-Knight decks there is a quick play spell that allows them to summon. I'm laying down the law here. I'm saying, all right, if you want a quick play and summon a Mekk-Knight monster using the quick play spell, you have to do it now. But if you do, you don't get your tokens from your Mekk-Knight, right? Whereas if I did this on summon of the tokens, then he can still quick play and get a like more bodies on the field, um, which I guess like wouldn't matter in the long scheme of things because like he can't link summon or do anything else anyway. But it's just like prevents him from setting up like more plays like on following turns. But yeah, this is basically already game. Like he can't do anything, right? Like, what is he gonna do? Like set two, pass, and attack Anaconda. Yeah, and then he just like leaves, right? I mean, what can he do? He can't do anything. So yeah, summon limit like probably single-handedly won that game. Like I didn't even need Dragoon. I could have just had like a Artemis, right? And I still would have won the game here. Like yeah, Summon Limit is amazing. I very, very, very highly recommend it. If you're still skeptical about it, at least put it in your side deck. Like, okay, if you don't like main decking it because you lose the dice roll, you feel Summon Limit's no good. At least put it in your side deck. Like at the very least, right? Um, so yeah. Anyway, that's the game, and yeah. Normally, I really hate going against Mekk-Knights because they're so annoying. With all their like effects and like the random link monsters. Um, yeah, they just seem to always just search more, like summon, search, summon, search. They're just always summoning and searching. It's super obnoxious. And like their back rows are also really annoying too. So yeah, I'm glad I was able to 2-0 this guy because I hate Mekk-Knights. It's one of my. I mean, it's not like I don't ever have trouble with the deck. It's just like a tedious slog usually to play against them. Especially since like they have so many outs for Dragoon, right? But yeah, hope y'all learned something. But yeah, it's very important to know, just have deck knowledge, right? Like that's really what wins you games. Like you can have a good profile, but if you just don't have knowledge about the game, you'll still lose, right? Or you can even say like if you don't like my deck profile, you can say I have a bad deck profile, but just because I know how the game works and like knowledge about different strategies and combos and stuff, that that's why I won. Like the clutch factor matters. Like that knowledge definitely matters in games like these. Anyway, um, but yeah, but notice like Eagle Booster, like I opened it in my hand, meant that I knew my Anaconda was going to go through no matter what. He could have Imperm, Valor, Gamma, doesn't matter. Like my Anaconda was safe, which is the reason why I really like this card. And it's like, oh, it's a brick, but well, I mean Dragoon discard fodder. Like, or maybe I draw souls and I send this to the graveyard and just draw. Like, let's say I top deck Magician Souls. This like my hand here is a draw two, right? And if I don't get Magician Souls, like, oh, discard for Dragoon negate, discard for Dragoon negate, right? Like it's not bad. They're not bad cards. Okay. Yeah. So that's the matchup, and thank you all for watching. Hope you learned something. Later.